At a small family-owned diner, on a rainy afternoon, a young waitress made a decision that would change her life forever. Claire had always been kind, but what she did that day went beyond kindness. It was a quiet act of compassion that led to a shocking injustice. She gave a meal to a hungry child who had nothing. What she didn't expect was to be fired for it, humiliated in front of her coworkers. But what no one saw coming was what happened just hours later, when a stranger returned not just with a thank you, but with a secret that would turn her world upside down. This is a story of kindness, injustice, and a twist that will transform lives. Claire had worked at the Blue Moon Diner for almost 8 months. It wasn't her dream job, but it was steady, and it paid just enough to keep a roof over her head and food on the table for her and her little sister, Lily. At only 28, Claire had already been through more than most people twice her age. Since their parents' death in a car accident 3 years ago, she had taken on the role of provider, protector, and emotional anchor for her 11-year-old sister. That Tuesday began like any other gray skies, cold wind, and a stack of unpaid bills waiting on the kitchen counter. Claire pulled on her worn sneakers and hoodie and kissed Lily goodbye before walking 3 blocks through the drizzle to the diner. By mid-afternoon, the rain had turned into a full storm. The diner was quiet. Most booths were empty, and the only sounds came from the hum of the coffee machine and the occasional clink of silverware. Claire was refilling napkin dispensers when she noticed a small figure slipping through the door. A boy, no older than 8, soaked from head to toe, wearing a backpack too big for his frame. He walked slowly, nervously, and sat in the back corner booth. He didn't order. He didn't even remove his wet hoodie. He just sat there, staring at the menu like it was written in another language. Claire walked over softly. "Hey there," she said gently. "You all right?" He looked up with wide eyes. His lips trembled. I'm hungry," he whispered, "but I don't have money." Claire's heart clenched. There were rules. No food without payment. Management had been strict, especially after a few recent thefts. But this was a child alone in the rain. She glanced around. Her manager wasn't in sight. Monica, the other waitress on shift, raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Claire smiled. "Stay right here." She went into the kitchen and fixed a plate, scrambled eggs, toast, and a few apple slices along with a warm glass of milk. No charge, no questions. When she placed the food in front of him, the boy looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. "Thank you," he said softly. "No one ever helps." She sat for a moment across from him, watching as he ate slowly, savoring every bite like it was the best meal of his life. But just then, Monica walked by and muttered under her breath, "You're gonna get canned, Claire." Claire ignored her. As the boy finished, he stood, thanked her again, and handed her a folded note. "I'll pay you back," he said. "I promise." She unfolded the paper after he left. It was barely legible, but it had a name, Daniel, and a short message. "I'm not a bad kid. I'm just lost." Claire folded the note and placed it in her apron pocket. Later that day, the manager, Mr. Thompson, returned. Within minutes, Monica had already whispered what Claire had done. She was called into the back office. Mr. Thompson didn't even sit down. "I heard you gave away food today." Claire took a breath. "Yes, a young boy came in. He was alone. I don't care if he was the Pope. We don't give away food. You took product from this business and gave it away like you own the place." "I paid for it," she insisted. "Out of my own money." "Doesn't matter. That's not how things work here. Pack your things. You're done." Just like that. No conversation, no second chances. She walked home in the rain, her apron still damp from tears. With every step, she wondered how she'd tell Lily. She didn't regret feeding that boy, but she was terrified of what came next. When Claire arrived at the apartment, she hesitated outside the door. She could hear Lily inside, laughing softly at something on television. That sound, pure and innocent, made the lump in Claire's throat even heavier. How could she tell her that everything was falling apart again? She opened the door slowly. Lily jumped up from the couch. "Claire, you're home early." Claire forced a smile. Yeah, I got off a little early today. Lily tilted her head. Why do your eyes look puffy? Claire knelt and hugged her tightly. Because I'm lucky to have you, she whispered. They sat on the couch together, and Claire finally told her what had happened, how she had given a meal to a boy who needed it, and how she had been punished for it. Lily didn't say anything for a moment. Then, with her small arms wrapped around her sister's waist, she whispered, "You did the right thing, Claire. I'm proud of you." Those words, so simple and sincere, hit harder than anything Mr. Thompson had said. Claire had lost her job, yes, but she hadn't lost herself, and that meant something. That night, after Lily went to bed, Claire sat at the small kitchen table with her worn notebook. She made a list. Food left in the pantry, remaining bills, and what little savings she had. It wasn't much, maybe 2 weeks' worth of groceries, maybe less. She knew she had to find work fast. The next morning, Claire started early. She walked from store to store, diner to diner, leaving her resume, filling out applications. Most places weren't hiring. Others looked her up and down and said they'd let her know. By afternoon, her legs ached, and the drizzle had returned. As she turned a corner, something caught her eye, a bakery. The kind that looked like it belonged in a movie. Warm lights, fresh bread smell, and a bell that jingled when the door opened. Claire hesitated, then stepped inside. The woman behind the counter, an older lady with silver hair tied in a bun, looked up and smiled. "Welcome, dear." Claire approached. "Hi, I was wondering if you might be hiring." The woman studied her face. "What's your name?" Claire Dawson." "I'm Margot," the woman said, extending her hand. "I just lost my helper this week. Do you have experience?" "Yes," Claire replied quickly. "I've worked in diners. I'm good with people. Margot raised a hand. "Can you be kind? Even when people aren't?" Claire blinked. "Yes, especially then." Margot smiled. "Come in tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Let's see how you do." Claire's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really. Bring comfortable shoes and a good attitude. That's all I ask." Claire nearly cried right there in the bakery. She thanked Margot and left with a glimmer of hope she hadn't felt in days. That evening, she made Lily pancakes for dinner, a rare treat. She told her sister about the bakery and how tomorrow could be a fresh start. Lily beamed. "I knew something good would happen." At 5:15 a.m. the next day, Claire tied her hair back, put on her cleanest clothes, and arrived at the bakery on time. The kitchen was already warm with the scent of cinnamon and rising dough. Margot handed her an apron. "Let's get to it." Claire learned quickly, kneading dough, cleaning counters, wrapping loaves. By mid-morning, her hands were sore, but her heart was light. Customers trickled in, smiling and chatting. The place felt good, safe. And then, around 10 a.m., the door jingled, and in stepped a man Claire didn't recognize, tall, mid-40s, in a black overcoat. He looked around, spotted Claire, and walked straight to the counter. "You're Claire Dawson?" She blinked. "Yes." He extended a hand. "I'm Jacob Langley. That boy you helped? Daniel? He's my son." Claire froze. Jacob smiled, though his eyes were misty. "He told me what happened. Every word. He said you were the only person who saw him, who helped him." Claire felt her knees weaken. "Is he okay?" "He is now. But yesterday, he ran away. We had a fight. I said things I shouldn't have. He thought I didn't care." Claire's heart twisted. "He was just scared and hungry." Jacob nodded. "You helped him when you didn't have to, and then you lost your job for it." "I didn't do it for recognition," Claire said quietly. "I just couldn't let him go hungry." Jacob pulled out a checkbook. "Let me help. Please, I insist." Claire shook her head. "I don't want money." He paused, then smiled again. "Then maybe you'd let me help another way." Before Claire could respond, Margot appeared behind her. "Jacob, I thought I recognized your voice." Claire turned in confusion. Margot chuckled. "This is my nephew." Jacob grinned. "And my aunt tells me everything. You're in good hands here." Claire stood in stunned silence. as the two exchanged glances. And then Jacob turned back to her. "But I'm not done. I want to tell you something. Something that might change your life." Claire hesitated for a moment, unsure how to respond. Jacob continued, his voice softer now, almost like a confession. "Last night, after I found Daniel, he told me everything, every detail. The food, the way you spoke to him, how you treated him like a person, even though you didn't know him. And do you know what he said?" Claire looked at him, her eyes already misty. "What?" Jacob gave a small, bittersweet smile. He said, "Dad, she was the only person who really saw me." Those words struck Claire in the chest, not with pain, but something deeper. Validation. She had lost her job. She had walked home in the rain, uncertain and afraid. But in that moment, all of it made sense. I just did what anyone should have done," she whispered. "But few would," Jacob replied. "You did the right thing when it would have been easier to look away. And because of that, I want to show you something." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a sleek, black business card with gold letters. He handed it to Claire. She read it aloud. "Langley Foundation, Human Impact Division. I started that foundation 5 years ago," Jacob said. "After my wife passed away, we look for people, ordinary people who do extraordinary things. People who prove that compassion still exists. And Claire, you're one of them." Claire blinked. "I don't understand." Jacob smiled warmly. "I want to offer you a position with us. A real job, a real salary, full benefits, support, and most importantly, dignity." Claire's eyes widened. "But I don't have a degree. I've never worked in an office." "You don't need any of that. You have what matters: sympathy, courage, integrity. That can't be taught. The rest we'll teach you." Margot, still listening near the kitchen door, crossed her arms and grinned. "I told you she was special," she said with a wink. Claire's hands started to tremble, and her breath caught in her throat. This couldn't be real. This kind of thing didn't happen to people like her. "What about the bakery?" she asked, glancing at Margot. Margot shrugged. "Sweetheart, this place will always be here. But the world is giving you a door to walk through. And I say walk through it with that beautiful heart of yours." That did it. The tears came fast and full, rolling down Claire's cheeks as she covered her mouth with her hand. For the first time in years, she felt seen, respected, chosen. Jacob extended his hand again. "So, what do you say?" Claire looked at him. She thought of Lily, of her parents, of Daniel. She nodded, voice shaking but full of resolve. "Yes, I accept." That night, she came home with a smile Lily hadn't seen in months. "You look different," Lily said, folding her arms with mock suspicion. "What happened?" Claire sat down beside her sister and told her everything: the boy, the bakery, the job offer from a man she never expected to see again. Lily leapt into her arms, squeezing her tight. "You deserve this, Claire. You deserve all of it." And in that moment, Claire knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The following week felt like a dream Claire didn't want to wake up from. She began her onboarding at the Langley Foundation, and everything felt surreal. She was introduced to a cozy office space filled with people who smiled genuinely, who asked about her story, who seemed to actually care. There was no cold corporate hierarchy, no eyes judging her resume, no condescending tones, only kindness and collaboration. She was assigned a mentor, a woman named Denise, who had once been a shelter worker and now oversaw one of the foundation's outreach projects. "You're going to do well here," Denise said on their first day together. "I can already tell. People who act from the heart always do." Claire soaked in everything: training sessions, orientation videos, project proposals. She wasn't just hired to fill a seat. She was being prepared to lead a new community initiative focused on helping children in vulnerable situations, especially those who had run away or been displaced, like Daniel had. She couldn't believe it. The very pain she had felt for so long: financial struggle, emotional isolation, fear of the future, was now the fuel behind a new purpose. Every evening when she returned home, Lily bombarded her with questions. Do you have your own desk? Yes. Do they have free snacks? Lots of them. Is your boss nice? Claire laughed. The nicest I've ever had. But beyond the fun and novelty, something deeper was happening. Claire was growing not just in confidence, but in clarity. For the first time, she saw herself not as someone just trying to survive, but someone who could actually make a difference. And just when she thought life couldn't surprise her anymore, it did. On a quiet Friday morning, as she was preparing to shadow a presentation, she received a message. Mr. Langley would like to see you in his office. Her heart jumped. Had she done something wrong? She knocked gently on the door. Come in, Jacob called. He was standing by the window, looking out at the city. When he turned, he smiled. Claire, thank you for coming. Of course, she said, still nervous. I just wanted to talk, he said. Not about work, about Daniel. Claire nodded, gently. Jacob sat down, gesturing for her to join him. You know, after his mother passed, Daniel changed. He became quieter, more distant. I did my best, but I was grieving too. Sometimes I think I failed him. Claire listened silently. She could feel the weight of guilt in his voice. But when he talked about you, Claire, it was like I was hearing my son again. You reminded him that people still care, that kindness still exists. He paused, then looked her in the eyes. And I realized I hadn't thanked you properly. You have, Claire replied softly, more than I ever expected. He shook his head. I want to do more. She tilted her head slightly, unsure what he meant. Jacob continued, the project you're helping build, we want to name it after your parents. Claire's eyes widened. They were teachers, right? Givers, like you. It feels right. Tears welled up instantly. You don't have to do that. I know, Jacob said, but I want to. Let their legacy live on through you. Claire covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Thank you, she whispered. I don't even have the words. Jacob smiled. Then don't try. Just keep being who you are. That weekend, Claire visited her parents' grave for the first time in months. She stood between the headstones and told them everything. About Daniel, about Lily, about the foundation, about the project that would carry their name. And for the first time since they passed, she didn't cry out of grief. She cried out of gratitude. Weeks turned into months, and the foundation project Claire was helping to lead quickly became one of their most promising initiatives. Named the Dawson Outreach Program in honor of her late parents, it focused on identifying and supporting at-risk children, those slipping through the cracks, just like Daniel had. Claire was no longer the waitress who walked home in the rain with nothing but her dignity. She was now a coordinator, a voice, a leader, and even more than that, she was a source of hope for others. But Claire never let her position change who she was. She still walked Lily to school, still helped Margot at the bakery on weekends, still made pancakes for dinner, when times felt heavy only now. Those times came less often. The foundation grew rapidly, and with it, Claire's reach and responsibilities. She traveled to speak at community centers, trained new volunteers, and personally mentored young women starting over after losing everything. At one particular seminar, Claire shared a version of her story for the first time in public. She stood in front of 50 people, teachers, parents, social workers, and said, I was fired for feeding a hungry child, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. The room went silent. But not because losing that job didn't hurt. It did. I cried. I panicked. I thought I had ruined everything. But what I didn't know was that by standing up for what was right, I opened a door I never even knew existed. She paused, her voice calm and steady. I didn't do it for recognition. I didn't do it to get ahead. I did it because I saw a scared child and couldn't look away. That choice cost me something, but it gave me back so much more. The audience stood to applaud. Many were in tears. After the event, a young woman approached her no older than 20 and whispered, I was going to quit my job this week. I thought I wasn't making a difference. But your story, gave me hope. And that, Claire realized, was the true power of her journey. One evening, as autumn leaves fell across the city sidewalks, Claire sat on the balcony with Lily. The little girl had grown taller, more confident, and happier. She looked up at her sister. "Do you think Mom and Dad would be proud?" Claire pulled her in close. "I don't think, Lily, I know." Silence settled between them, but it was warm like the golden light of a sunset. Lily smiled. "Can I work at the foundation one day?" Claire grinned. "You can run the foundation one day." They laughed together, the kind of laugh that only comes from healing. A few weeks later, on the one-year anniversary of Daniel's visit to the diner, Jacob invited Claire and Lily to dinner. It was simple, just pizza, soft music, and conversation. Daniel hugged Claire like family. "You saved me," he told her. Claire knelt down. "No, Daniel, you saved me too." And he smiled a real full smile, the kind that tells you someone is finally okay. As the evening drew to a close, Jacob walked Claire to the car. The streetlights cast soft halos over the quiet road. "I've been thinking about something," he said. Claire raised an eyebrow. "That sounds serious." Jacob chuckled. "Maybe it is. I've watched you grow into one of the strongest people I know. I see the way you lead, the way you listen, the way you believe in people." Claire blushed. "I just do my best." That's what makes it powerful. There was a pause. Then Jacob added, "Claire, have you ever thought about running your own center?" She blinked. "My own? I want to fund it. A full branch of the foundation. Your vision, your leadership, your legacy." Her heart skipped. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." And so, in the months that followed, the Claire Center for Youth Empowerment was born, a place where every child who walked through the door was fed, protected, and reminded that they mattered. It became a beacon, a symbol of what one act of kindness could become when the world chose not to crush it, but to carry it forward. Claire's story didn't start with a big plan. It started with a plate of eggs, a scared little boy, and a choice to say, "I see you." And sometimes, that's all it takes. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you've ever helped someone without expecting anything in return, leave a comment. You never know how far your kindness can go.